Hello everyone, my name is Erica Cho and this is a presentation from class EN 317. I'll be going to take you through the story of the most chilling and unsolved case in American history, the Zodiac Killer. Going over the table of contents, firstly, we'll talk about the historical context. Second, timeline. Third, we will talk about Arthur Lee Allen and the Seawater family. Number 4, we will talk about key terms of the Zodiac case. Number 5, we will talk about secondary sources. And number 6, we will talk about the course connection. And lastly, number 7, we will talk about the conclusion. The Zodiac Killer was responsible for the brutal murders of 5 confirmed victims in the California Bay Area between the late 1960s and early 1970s. What made this case notorious wasn't just the killings, but the letters sent to the newspapers with cryptic messages and taunting letters to the police and to the public. These messages continued from 1969 to 1974. Unfortunately, despite widespread attention, the cryptic message were not decoded in time to identify the killer. And to this day, the true identity of the Zodiac remains unknown. This is the timeline of the killings. The first victim was on June 4th, 1963. The area was Santa Barbara, and the victims were Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards. Second was December 20th of 1968, Lake Herman Road, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday. July 4th, 1969, Vallejo, Darlene Farron and Michael Magee. September 27, 1969, Lake Burrisaw, Brian Hartnell, the survivor, and Cecilia Shepard. October 11, 1969, San Francisco, Paul Stein. And these are possible murders of Zodiac investigated by Robert Graysmith. October 30th, 1966, Riverside, Sherry Josephine Bates. March 22, 1970, Modesta area, Kathleen Johns. September 6, 1970, Lake Tahoe, Donna Lass, who is currently still missing. The following is a timeline of letters and ciphers sent to the newspapers and people that the Zodiac taunted. The newspapers were Vallejo Times Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner. Although not listed in this timeline, there is one particular letter that was sent to a reporter but not confirmed. Now let us examine a key suspect, Arthur Lee Allen. He was born in December 18, 1933. He lived in Vallejo and was a state champion diver. He later became a teacher and was convicted as a sex offender from 1974 through 1978. He was in Atascadero State Hospital. Later, he died in 1992 of a hematoma. The Seawater family was close with Arthur Lee Allen. Firstly, Paul Seawater, the father, was convicted of family violence and was sent to the Atascadero State Hospital. Phyllis Seawater, the mother, was raising 7 children at the time. David Seawater, who met Mr. Allen in his first class of 4th grade, and Connie, 3rd grade, Dawn Seawater, either in 1st grade or kindergarten at the time. Marlene, Hilly, and the 7th child, who is unknown, were too young to remember the stories and connections with Mr. Allen. David, Connie, and Dawn Seawater spent their childhood with Mr. Allen. They often went on field trips with Mr. Allen. According to the docu-series that will be later mentioned, the Seawaters remembered going to places of the murders before it happened. Phyllis, the mother, became close with Mr. Allen over the years, and as her children moved out or got married. Phyllis had a deep connection with Allen and refused and denied all the accusations until her death. David had a phone call with Mr. Allen before his death confessing he had killed few people and that he was the Zodiac killer. There are several important themes in the Zodiac case. Firstly, obsession. The Zodiac was obsessed with media and control over it. Anonymity. He kept his identity hidden, fueling public paranoia. Media manipulation. He thrived on using the media to spread fear to the public. Power and control. Through codes and threats, he controlled the public narrative. Failure of authority. The inability to catch him shook public confidence in law enforcement. And lastly, mystery. The mystery of his identity continues to captivate the society today. The Zodiac case changed how we approach crime investigations today. It spurred the development of forensic techniques, behavioral profiling, and advanced suspect analysis. This case emphasized the need for collaboration across jurisdiction. Law enforcement had to adapt to a new type of criminal who used media as a weapon. The Zodiac Killer has had a lasting impact on popular culture. He inspired countless fictional and non-fictional works, including movies, books, and TV series. This fascination shows how deeply this case affected our sense of safety and trust in justice. It also reminds us that such a killer could still exist in anonymity. One of the major sources that helps us understand this case is This is the Zodiac Speaking, a Netflix docuseries shows in 2024 that introduced new evidence pointing to Arthur Lee Allen, and it is based on witness testimony from the Seawater family, an investigator, a former KYVU reporter who interviewed Mr. Allen, former students of Mr. Allen, task force officers who were assigned to go over the case, and researchers who cracked the code and helped task force officers at the time. A particular key witness, an investigator and author, Robert Graysmith, shares his interview and his experience with Mr. Allen at the time. Mr. Graysmith was a political cartoonist at one of the newspapers. He was also intrigued by the Zodiac case and later on investigated on his own to find the killer. Another secondary source is the FBI records from 2007 that was digitalized. Records from former FBI investigations who helped local law enforcement at the time shared behavioral analysis, fingerprint analysis, criminal background checks, as well as cryptic analysis. This helped solve many cryptic notes that the Zodiac killer had sent. Later researchers, mathematicians, have solved some of the cryptic letters, but not all. This case ties into a broader literary and psychological themes. We can relate this case to Edgar Allan Poe's The Mystery of Marie Roget. Both deal with unsolved murders and the obsession with truth. This case also relates to Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train that explores the minds of criminals and the psychological depth of killers. It also ties in with Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train, the investigator who never gives up, and the investigator of the Zodiac case, Robert Graysmith. To conclude, the Zodiac killer remains unidentified. There is still no closure for the victims' families and friends. The fear that someone can commit these crimes and vanish haunts us even today. This case teaches us to question what we see, trust less easily, and recognize the limitations of our institutions. Thank you for listening.